Hello, everybody. Welcome back. I'm so excited to have this guy on the show. He is Chaz Sampson, founder of the Seven Principles Group, who understands challenges of veterans, people who are trying to get benefits, people who are being treated unfairly. Chaz knows how to navigate that system, and he's going to come on. We're going to talk about that. He builds trust among veterans who feel unseen and has shaped business strategies prioritizing ethics, growth, and real world impact. On a side note, I mean, Chaz, I just got done talking to him. He's an amazing guy. He's into private equity, real estate, and he's currently an NFL agent. Chaz, welcome, brother.
Thank you, Patrick. I'm glad to be here.
Oh man, we are so happy to have you, brother. Thank you for reaching out to me. I think it was you or one of the people that work for you that reached out to me. And I'm glad, man, that you were on. There's so many questions like we talked about. So first and foremost, you mentioned you're an Army veteran. Thank you for your service, sir.
Cool. My
But
pleasure.
I haven't heard that in a while. So for those listeners out there who don't know, that's just a thing we do with Army guys and men and women in the Army. Now, Marine Corps is a little bit different.
hmm
But thank you for being here, brother. What made you enlist? What made you get into the service?
So I grew up in Fayetteville, North Carolina, and I'll tell you a funny story. When I was a kid, me and my little brothers would use our dad's the hefty bags, the was it contractor bags? They're really heavy and thick.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah.
punch holes through them and put our arms through them and jump up in a tree and jump out. We didn't have enough clearance for enough air to come into our what was a makeshift
Yeah,
parachute.
parachute.
But yeah, that's what we were doing. And so yeah, I grew up watching soldiers, on Sicily drop zone, jump out of C-130s and C-15s, and I said, you know what, I want to do that when I get older. And I ended up going to college, and I always thought about back of my mind, I want to join the military at one point, and I think it was '06, '05 actually, because the surge happened, I think in '03 or something to that effect. And I saw a commercial come up. Some guys were rappelling out of a, I think it was a UH-60, a Black Hawk,
Yeah, yeah.
and out of Fort Campbell. Well, I didn't know it was Fort Campbell, but at the time, now I know, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I saw that, and they said 40,000 to join. I said, I want 40,000. I'm gonna do it. So I got 33,000, close enough. And yeah, I joined, raised my right hand, and it was, Patrick was by far one of the best investments. I made a lot
Yeah.
of investments in my career, but that one was
Yeah.
ideally the best investment I ever could have made in my life.
Yeah, amen, brother. And you went to college.
Yeah.
You were commissioned, right? Were you did you get
No,
commissioned?
no, I was backbone Army, man. I couldn't do it. I was like, nah. Yeah, just the officers I were around, I was like, nah. I see myself as a blue collar guy. I
Yeah.
grew up, my parents, super work ethic. Both my mom and dad, just really hard workers, especially my dad.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
grew up in a super conservative home, and it's just the officers that I was introduced to at the time. It just didn't feel like my cup of tea. The enlisted
Yeah.
guys felt more. But now looking back, I probably would have, been an officer. There's been more, earning potential, but. Yeah, I was enlisted, man. I was
Yeah.
happy for making that decision.
Well, everything happens for a reason. I was enlisted too, and there's and God bless all the officers out there
Yeah,
in
yeah.
every branch. But I think there's I don't know this special bond, and I only saw one perspective, from the enlisted side. But it's interesting. So, and you know this is most new officers, second lieutenants, the ones in my experience with the 82nd was they would rely heavily on their NCOs and those
Absolutely.
enlisted because,
Yeah.
when you get commissioned officers, we would get them from like West Point and stuff,
hmm
awesome guys, but they would reach out to the, you know, staff sergeants and,
Yeah.
E7s, E6s, of course, the first sergeants. So but yeah, it was a great time. I'm like you, Chaz. It was probably one of the best times of my life. And I was
Yeah.
in a long time ago because I'm older than you, but I still well, I am. And I still keep in contact with these guys. And every time I get on the phone with them, or every time we text or something, it's like we never left each other.
Never lost. Yeah, exactly.
It's like we pick up from the last conversation we had like 3 years ago.
That's how it's supposed to be. That's exactly how it's supposed to
Yeah.
be. I had a guy hit me up today randomly. He's also an attorney. He's an attorney that I took care of his case back in 2014. He randomly hit me up out of nowhere. I was like, man, we just caught up from the last text message because iPhone keeps the text message
Yeah,
history.
yeah,
I haven't talked to him since 2021. I was like, wow, we just the last message just picked up from there. So
yeah.
you're right. That's how I think it's one of the special bonds of being a veteran and being able to serve with one of your brothers and sisters. Like it's just you never lose connection, even though you
Yeah.
may not talk for a few years or a few months.
So that's a good segue, Chaz, about what I really want to hit on what you do
Yeah.
now. And in the intro, I talked about, and you mentioned a case that you were working with a buddy. I'm assuming it was a case trying to navigate disability
Hmm.
claims and stuff like that
Yeah.
with the VA. How did you get into this? Because, and like I said before we started, brother, I mean, we need more people like you because, there's so much misconception out there, I think, and I told you my misconception
Hmm.
about the VA and the fact that I was, and another thing is I have some issues now with my knees, from jumping out of perfectly good airplanes.
Hmm.
Um, but how do you navigate that, brother? And first of all, how did you get into that line of
Yeah.
work? I mean, which it truly is amazing. I mean, it really is.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. A lot of our clients say we're doing the Lord's work.
You are doing the
So
Lord's work. Yeah.
amen to that. So I'm a finance guy. So this was not my call to business. I never want to do this as a business. I actually would prefer, or at least if you'd asked me 11 years ago when I first started the company, where we'd be at, and it would be we're probably doing wealth management and trading equity funds, stuff like that. That's more my cup of tea. But I got into it because I was in Washington D.C. and I wanted to be in the federal government. I was lobbying at the time. I was working for a for-profit institution where I was doing mission stuff and doing stuff on Capitol Hill, just really just being a maverick and making things happen in that space. And I bumped into a bunch of other veterans that needed help with their educational benefits, and I was really good at that kind of stuff at the time. And I ended up applying for a job as a rater at the VA in Washington D.C. and I started making these final decisions on VA claims, and I became a overnight celebrity for veterans because the first thing they asked me is how do I get 100%. And so, me just being my personality, I would tell them this is how you get 100%. Like, let me look at your case. And so they'll put the e-benefits on their phone, and I would just walk through all the disabilities and ask them a few questions. And within seconds, they were like, "How did you know all that information?" I'm like, "Well, this is what I do for a living." So I was a rater. And for listeners out there, the rater is the guy or gal that makes the final decision on your VA claim. So you put in a claim, and then your claim gets decided, and it's either for you or against you, or somewhere in the middle of that. And either you're gonna hate me as a rater, or you're gonna love me. One of the two. So if you love me, you probably got a lot of money. If you hated me, you probably got your claim denied. But what started to happen, Patrick, was a lot of VSOs. So that was like DAV and VFW, and a lot of law firms and consulting firms started seeking me out. People started, finding out who I was, and I was on these speaking events and just explaining the whole process and really just trying to help people out. And luckily for me, my supervisor at the time, his name was John Shriver. He's probably still at the VA by now, but John really saw something in me, and he believed in my abilities to communicate effectively, and he allowed me to take my extra time on the weekends to educate the masses about what we were doing. So I teamed up with different mayors from the mayor of Alexandria, which I think his name was Bill Hewlett at the time, to Derek Wood and out there in Manassas area. I think it was Dumfries. Excuse me, I'm wrong on that. But the whole Northern Virginia Peninsula area, I was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
whatever event you needed me to come to talk about veterans claims, I came happily. And there would be times where I would sit with my cat card and put it into a laptop and open up people's files and tell them right in their face, hey, this is what you need to do. This is why your case will get
That's
denied. And
amazing.
it just spread like wildfire, man. And so I became this sought out figure out in Washington, D.C. back in, I would say this is about 2013 time frame. And I started having law firms saying, "Hey, we just pay you directly to just figure all this mess out because it's super complicated. We don't know what we're." The client's asking these questions we never heard of before, and I'm, "Oh, this is this, this is that, this is that." I know the CFR off the top of my head, so that turned into a business, and I came to the conclusion where I had to either help these veterans out or not. So I ended up leaving the VA and started working at the Pentagon. I was over there doing human resource work, so I did a lot of adverse actions, labor negotiations, terminations of federal employees, and negotiating labor contracts and all kinds of cool stuff with personnel management. And from there, folks at the Pentagon started asking me for help too. So I was like, "Oh my God, I can't escape this. I can't leave it."
Well,
And
I think
so
that's God telling you, hey, man, brother, I need you right here, my friend.
God definitely ordained my steps, and when you go to the Pentagon, you have a losing unit and a gaining unit, just like you do in the military. So
Yeah. Yeah.
there's a losing unit, there's a gaining unit, and they can see what you did at the losing unit. And so people are like, "You were a veterans claims examiner?" I'm like, "Yeah." "What did you do there?" "I was a decision maker." "Oh man, I got a claim right now." And so that spread as well, and so I got to the point when I was at the Pentagon, my supervisor. His name is Danny Davis. He's a really amazing guy. He's probably he should be probably at least a 2-star by now. I haven't looked into his profile in quite some time, but he said, Chaz, you got a choice to make. Either you can be a great GS 15 one day and get tapped SCS and move up the rank pretty quick because you're doing a really good job here, or you can go be a CEO and still be successful. Like it's your choice. And so I went home and I started thinking like, what am I going to do? I was overwhelmed. I was working sick hours, sick. Sometimes I'll take sick leave to do VA claims for veterans. I couldn't leave them hanging, and I would take days on Saturday and work all day during the day. And I just decided, well, I'm going to go ahead and do this full time. And so for the first year, I did it for free. I didn't charge a dime, and I just got overwhelmed. And
Yeah.
so I was like, well, I can't stop. I can't do this for free anymore. I don't have to. I need to help. And here we are, 11 years later. So,
With 7 principles.
yep, Seven Principles Group.
And I imagine, brother, thank you for sharing that story.
My
And
pleasure.
I imagine, you tell me if I'm wrong, that being a veteran yourself and being in the Army, that you probably, you even mentioned that you would work for free sometimes and
Yeah.
try to just help these veterans. I imagine being a veteran yourself, you were like, it hit you more personally at
It
points.
hit me personally, and it hit me so personally to the point where I left my own needs behind too. I
Yeah.
was 60% for years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it took a partner of mine, he's up in Virginia, great guy. He said, Chaz, you're taking care of the world, but no one's taking care of you. You need to focus on your case.
Amen.
And a Raider, a friend of mine that was also a Raider as well at the Winston-Salem Regional Office, we met, and she was upset with me that I wasn't taking care of my own case. And she said, look, send over your stuff to me and I'll take care of you. And I sent over to her, and I would say the next month I woke up and there was a large back pay in my account, and I had finally did my own case. I just abandoned my own matter because I really felt like I wanted to put the needs of like you said, like I felt like other men and women needed it more than me. And I felt like I didn't deserve it neither. I felt like God just blessed me with this knowledge to help, and I just continued to help, but I overlooked my own needs for years.
Well, and I told you a little bit about my background, first responder, veteran, working in behavioral health. And brother, that is a reoccurring theme I hear all the time. You, me, other people, veterans, we're just so conditioned that's why we join the military, because we want to
Yeah,
give
absolutely.
back. That's why we become first responders. We want to give back to
Hmm.
the detriment, like you said, of our own personal need, a lot of times our mental health. And so I'm so glad that somebody was able to say, Chaz, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take care of your own needs. Because if we're not taking care of our own needs, we're not going to be 100% to take care of other people's needs.
Absolutely. Yep. That's exactly what was said to me. Exactly like that,
Yeah.
almost verbatim.
Yeah. So talk about 7 principles.
Yeah. Yeah, so it started from humble beginnings. We started at my kitchen table in Washington D.C. or in Tyson's Corner, to be more specific, which is a suburb of Washington D.C. in Northern Virginia. And I just consistently focused on taking care of veterans, and then the time just flew by. As we got more into taking care of veterans, we got larger and larger. I actually had a veteran that had a real estate issue. He was going through a pre-foreclosure on a VA loan, which are assumable loans. And so I decided that I was going to help him out I just had a soft spot. I was like, you know what? I can actually buy your house from you. What price would you sell it to me for? He sold me the house, and then I went and fixed it up from right in Fayetteville, actually at Fort Bragg. I fixed it up, and he was like, I just want to be done with it. He had divorced his wife, and some things had happened that he just wanted to be done with it. He figured that we had the money to buy it, and actually we did. So we bought the property. I think it was a bridge loan actually. But I took out a loan and a hard money. It was hard money actually. I took out a hard money loan, fixed and flipped it, and then I shared some of the proceeds with him. That was my first time ever doing it. I didn't know much about construction, but I ended up learning a lot through the process, and I felt like I messed up this process so ridiculously, and I still made profit. This may be something I want to dig deeper into. So I started flipping real estate. That was back in, man, like 2017, 2018. And I just got addicted to that. And then I started buying so much real estate, I needed to actually have a mortgage license to reduce my fees on the commission, on the
Yeah.
mortgage
Yeah.
commissions. Because every time I buy a house, I'm paying 300 basis points. So I'm like, oh man, you know what? If I can get rid of the 3%, I can also do more damage. So then I started doing the mortgage side. So we got a mortgage vertical. We do VA loans and non-QM, all kinds of stuff. And it just started creating more opportunities to where now we're kind of locked in when it comes down to the VA mortgage side and mortgages period and real estate and yeah, veterans come through our whole cycle. Some of them do a VA claim, they buy a mortgage, and they get a mortgage loan from us. So
Oh my God.
I'm just happy now we can be a full service, and we can actually tweak the fees on it too. We can narrow it down all the way down to almost, 175 basis points,
Yeah.
which is 1.75% on the mortgage deal, which that's you're not finding that nowhere.
I
So
I remember when my ex-wife and I we bought a mortgage, we bought a home and then we refinanced it through the VA and we got a huge, very good interest rate on that. And now
mhm.
correct me if I'm wrong, Chaz, being a veteran, I can only because you have the VA benefit, correct?
I do.
With
Yep.
but I do too. So it can
Yep.
only be tied up in one property, correct?
Incorrect. You can actually have more than one property under the VA home loan. You have to prove that there's intent that you want to stay in the property, and then you had a change of circumstance. And from there, you can actually reuse your entitlement. Now, if you have, let's say, for instance, your entitlement is, I'm making a number, let's say $700,000, and you have a house that's 250. With the remaining balance, you still have that entitlement. So you can actually go buy another house and have two VA loans going at the
Oh,
same time.
wow. I did not know
Absolutely.
that. Oh
A lot of
my
people don't know
God.
that. Yeah, that's how I actually built my wealth. I mistakenly built wealth off of that principle.
I
I
thought
had
that
to.
it was just all one property or primary.
No, mm-mm. You can. I think the most I've ever seen was probably three deals, three VA loans on one entitlement, but they were smaller loans. So like one was like 125, one was like 180, another one was like 300,000 or something to that effect. But yeah, you can have more than one.
Wow.
Now, to get the second and the third and the subsequent loans, there has to be a change in circumstance. So, it's not the VA home loan program is not meant to be an investment vehicle. Oftentimes, what happened is these men and women are PCSing. So they were at Fort Lewis and they got orders at Fort Hood. That's a change in circumstance. So now that the house in Fort Lewis that is, let's say you have a balance of 180,000 that mortgage, you can then buy another house at Fort Hood for the same amount and put the house in Fort Lewis up on the market for rent, and that's cash flow for you.
See, I did not.
I
That's what I mean. It's cash flow. I never
Yeah,
knew that, brother. I mean, all this time,
yeah.
I just assumed that you could only have your benefit tied up in one property.
Mm-mm. The common trick that I see, not trick, but the common investment schema that I see often, and I normally see it with the higher ups, the E7 and above, E7, E9, and then like '05, '06, '07 and beyond, they will actually have several properties under entitlement that they've PCS so many times that a change in circumstance arose, and they're strategically doing it where they're not violating the mortgage fraud laws, but they would have a change in circumstance, buy another house, then take all those properties, bundle them, do a change of loan type, make it conventional. They get to pass the PMI level because they already have a LTV of 80% to their 21% in the deal, so there's no MIP or PMI, and then do a whole other VA loan the next house over. So next this guy or gal has a portfolio of, let's say, seven properties,
It's an
and
E7.
as an E7, yeah, it's very possible.
Oh
And
my
they
God.
meet the threshold because
Oh, yeah.
there's equity in the properties. They bought them right and they exit them right as well. So yeah,
Wow.
it's a pretty smart way to do it. But you have to be educated about it as soon as you join the military.
Wow. I'm gonna call Chaz. I'm gonna call you, dude, if I want to go
Yeah,
to that route. So
yeah.
if anybody, what are some of the I guess we hit some of them,
Mhm.
but what are the common uh concerns that, or maybe that's not the right word, but I'll use it. Like when you talk to veterans and they say, "Hey, man, Chaz, can you help me? I have I've been messed up in the military and stuff, but where's the first place I start?"
Yeah, so there's two folks I typically talk to. When I was first starting the business, I'm 11 years in, I'm the CEO, and I haven't really, to be honest with listeners, I haven't touched the actual case in I would say at least 3 years. Right, I
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
work at cradle to grave, veteran on the phone with me, I'm finding their problems, going through the process, cradle to grave. I do a case a year just to stay humble
current,
about
yeah, yeah,
what our mission is all about, because I do get lost in the CEO weeds of thing, if you will.
yeah,
But when I was working in cases, the number one thing was I feel wronged. That was the biggest thing. It's like, hey, I know I didn't have sleep apnea. I was just trying it, but I thought I was, falling asleep and not breathing right during my sleeping time. But I know my back is messed up for sure. Like that's the thing, is like just entitlement. So the first thing would be entitlement, and make sure they rightfully are entitled. And if they are wrongly denied, identifying why they were denied, and was it justified, was it not? Now in my career, I deal with a lot more higher up. So every now and again, I may deal with a three-star general, or let's say a retired E9, and he was, the brigade sergeant major. So he has a big name, big following, and he find me from the community events. I'm on different boards that support the military. Like we have Fleet Week coming to Houston.
Oh
So
yeah,
shout out to
yeah,
Houston for the first Fleet Week. So I'm
yeah,
doing a
yeah,
lot of those Fleet Week guys. So I'm doing admirals that ask me things in confidence. And now their story is how do I take care of my family?
yeah.
Because now I'm an admiral, or I just retired as an admiral. I retired, 5 years ago. I retired at age 60. I'm almost eligible for Social Security. My pension is set up. Retirement is great. VA claim is cool too, but how do I take care of my wife or my husband or my kids, or how do I make sure college is paid for? So I tell folks that ask me that question, Patrick, it depends on where the veteran is at when in their stage of life. My younger veterans that are 40, 42, they're trying to make sure their claim is justly, situated, and that they are getting everything they're supposed to get. They're not 100%. And if they're not 100% and they are getting everything, then fine. We leave well enough alone, right? But if I'm not 100% and I feel there's something there, I should take care of it, because then they're going to be 60 and my 60-year-old clients are like, hey, as my retirement, my pension, my trust fund, how do I send stuff down for my baby girl and my son that plays football? How does he get a path to the NFL or a shot at college or whatever it may be? So it just depends on the age of the client. And my younger folks, they don't care. They just, the 25-year-olds, 30-year-olds, they're like, hey, just get my claim done. I know there's something there. Give me the most you can get me.
Yeah.
And, thanks for helping me out, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
So it just depends on where they are age wise.
Yeah. And for the listeners out there, you can head over to sevenprinciples.com, Jazz's company, and get more information on there about the great work he and his team do. I imagine too, I mean, you've been doing this a long time, Chaz. I know you've
Mhm.
kind of, doing other things which we're going to hit on, but the propensity for fraud is there, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So we declined 60% of clients. I didn't say that, but thank you for bringing it up. We declined 60% or a little bit more, probably 62% if I'm being very specific. We decline more than half of folks that come to ask for help. And the reason why, one is fraud. We know you're lying to us. We know this evidence. We know the claims process at the back of our hands.
Yeah.
Our attorneys are even sharper, and our doctors are even more sharper than the attorneys. So you have to go through a couple layers with us to make sure you are um, and like I said, for people, for listeners out there, I don't want people to feel like they're not welcome to come to the firm. But what I do want to emphasize is that we represent a process. So if someone tells me something or tells us something, we take it with a grain of salt. And oftentimes we can see straightforward lies. There are some veterans that
Yeah.
just blatantly lie, and we can't represent fraud. So we will actually
Yeah.
reject the case and say sorry. Or if we accept them as a client and they paid us a retainer fee, we will refund it back to them. But we decline 60% of the cases because either the case lacks merit, or we just know the veteran is flat out lying to us based on what he or she is telling us and what the evidence is showing. It's contradicting,
Yeah.
blatantly contradiction.
Yeah, and you have to do that. I mean, it's the
Yeah, unfortunately,
integrity.
yeah, it's
Well, and
integrity of the
then
process
it's integrity of the process, and it harms other
of the
deserving
veterans.
veterans,
Absolutely,
that are most deserving or
yeah.
deserving of some sort of benefit. So,
Definitely deserve it. And also for us, we're from a Raiders. So, I can tell you in a rating, and in my day as a Raider, I will look at, let's say, 5 cases, 3 of them have no merit. Like, why did it ever get to my desk? Like, I should have never even saw this case, right? And so we respect both sides of the process, where we want to respect our client, make sure he or she's represented properly and that they're being taken care of, and we're attentive to their needs, and we can make sure that they have everything they need to make this process convenient and simple, right? But we also want to make sure that the what we call the payer that's paying out the benefit, which is the VA in this case. We want to make sure that we also give them cases where there is some merit there. We may be asking for the most because we're going to ask for the most. Obviously, they may give us something less, but it's more than what the client currently has, which is a
yeah,
win for our client. So,
yeah,
yeah, but we also not going to present the VA with some fabricated BS that we also are rubber stamping and the VA
yeah,
gets in. And
absolutely.
yeah, we're not doing
And then
that.
it's reputation for you, and the bad. What is
It's bad review.
it's a bad
Expectations are
review.
not managed very well.
Yeah,
And our Google reviews are great. I mean, do we get it right 100% of the time? No. We will have some veterans that just, hate us for whatever reason. We get some veterans that leave us 1 stars because we didn't take their case, which is so crazy to me. Like, we told you the truth. We told you we couldn't take the case and they're mad. So we get a 1 star review for that. We do get some veterans that get 1 star review because they didn't get 100%, but they got an increase, which is so crazy to
yeah,
me.
it's
It's like,
amazing. It's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I was thinking about that when you were talking. I mean, anything is better than nothing.
anything's better than nothing. But Patrick, I mean,
Oh,
just to be frank with you, some of these veterans, man, I don't know.
I can't imagine.
Mm.
Now, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, Chaz. I mean, how did you are doing everything, with
Yeah.
the government, you served. So how did you fall into being an NFL agent?
Man, so let me tell you something that's probably gonna blow your mind, and it does. It blows everyone's mind every time I say it. You take the profile of an NFL veteran, whether he does one contract, which is typically 4 years, maybe three if you undrafted free agent, and you take the contract from a veteran that served 4 years, their life at the end is the same. It's
Wow.
the same. The VA claims process and the process for benefits in the NFL are exactly the same. You file documentation, you prove your case, you go through an arbitration board or a panel that says yes or no. It's not that much of a difference. Their propensity to commit crime also is at the same rate of speed or something similar.
Wow.
Their propensity for TBI and what we know as CTE, same with guys that've been through IED blast, is the same. It's the same propensity. Their ability to be successful also is the same propensity. You got veterans that come out that do extremely well for themselves, and veterans that or end up homeless. Same with NFL guys. You find the transition from I have been a warfighter all my life. When I was a kid, I was playing with GI Joes. I joined when I was 17. I left when I was 37 or 38. But what do I do now? Same with NFL guys. I've been playing Pee Wee football since five. I got to college. I did well. I got drafted. Now I'm 28 years old, 29, or even 30, and I don't know what the hell to do with my life. And I have never been prepared for this. And college was a joke because I knew I was going to the NFL. So their transition is just as tough.
Wow.
Only difference is Army or military veteran in this case. I'm pro Army, so sorry if I'm offending
Well,
you Marines, right? Yeah, you get those military guys. Their contract value is significantly less than the NFL's value, but the thing is, their experience is very very similar in regards to how they
wow.
transition and how they do their afterlife, and even during their career. You find a guy that's in the military, he has uniform on, or if somebody knows he or she's in the military, he's getting discounts, he's getting paraded. Thank you for your service. Oh my God, I love what you guys are doing. Like you get all these long conversations in the airport. Same with the NFL guy. If they know he's in the NFL or if he's playing, he has a jersey or something that symbolizes he plays for a team, then you best believe someone's going to say, "Oh my God, are you so and so?" Probably wrong, but at least know like there's something about this guy. He's in the NFL. When they leave the NFL and when they leave the military, no one cares anymore. Like when the last time you really heard about, let me take up a random guy, a guy that left the NFL last year. I don't know. Take any NFL guy, right? And ask when last time you heard about his name being on TV. Never. Is
Yeah.
now you don't know what this guy has going on. We don't know what's happening with his lifestyle. And the same with a military veteran. You take a sergeant major in the army, and he's moved on. He's out of the army. He's not doing anything dealing with DOD. No one cares about him. No one hears about him except for his friends. And it's
A
very,
lot of
very, very
parallels. A lot of
lot of
parallels.
parallels, man. And so I started dealing with NFL guys through a lot of you'd be surprised how many military families have sons that go to NFL. It's a lot of them that have
I
military
can't imagine.
ties.
Yeah.
It's a lot of them. And so I started dealing with one guy in particular. I can't say his name out of confidentiality, but when he shared his story with me, I said, dude, if you would have never told me that you were in the NFL and you just said you were a veteran, I would have easily assumed you were a military veteran because your disability process sounds exactly like what my clients on the veteran side go through. So I start going backwards. Like, okay, here you are looking for disability as an NFL veteran. What happened before this? And we start going through all the process. What happened in this game? What happened in this week? What happened in this season? How he was on the pup one year and then IR the next and then got cut here. It's like, the military is the same way. You get injured, you can't perform, you get chaptered out. NFL, you get injured, you can't perform, you get cut. So I was like, wow. And now you're looking for disability. Like, you couldn't make it up, Patrick. I was literally like, just
So it was
like
just a
flabbergasted.
natural
It was natural,
transition.
natural transition for me mentally. Now, as
Yeah.
far as credibility wise, it was a lot to become an agent. It wasn't easy. I actually failed the exam the first time. It's nothing about football. Nothing about football. So if anybody listening wants to become an NFL agent or found the career interesting, first is you got to have some money. They do a background check on your financials as well as your credit and your criminal background. So you have to be solvent because you're dealing with guys that are making, some
Yeah.
guys are making 100 million plus.
Yeah.
You got to know how to manage that. You got to manage the fame of it. You got to manage the money side of it, the personal side of it, and you have to be poised in yourself, confident in yourself that you're dealing with a 25-year-old that makes 50 times more than what you make, in a year. So, and you have to be able to deal with a lot of them at the same time and be able to see them where they are, meet them where they are, and not be a fanboy or, just have this
Yeah, yeah.
crazy affinity with what they
Be
do.
humble, humble
Be
about it.
humble. You're there to take care of your client's need, which your client may be the starting quarterback for, one of these teams. So there's a process, and then you go through an exam. The exam is 60 questions. It's 3 hours long. My first year I took it, which was last year, it took me an entire 3 hours. I failed it by one question. So I was somewhat competent, but not competent enough. But this year, Patrick, I took the test. I finished an hour and a half. I am extremely competent on the NFL CBA and what it requires and how to navigate it and negotiate the contracts.
That's just amazing, brother. And so many people, I mean, myself included, I imagine so many people have no idea what an NFL agent does. We talked a little bit before we start, the movie Jerry Maguire with Tom Cruise
Yeah.
and Cuba Gooding Jr.,
Yeah.
which I think, and it's Hollywood, but the
Yeah.
only thing that you saw Tom Cruise doing in that movie was just trying to get as much money for his client, which I
Absolutely.
imagine is a big part of negotiating it as an NFL agent. But all the stuff that I mean, you just educated us, a lot of
Mhm.
people, including me and the listeners, about what an NFL agent actually does, which
Yeah.
is amazing.
Yeah, I tell people as an NFL agent, my job is to take care of the players' responsibilities outside of the NFL, outside of the lines of football. X's and O's, that's his responsibility. Everything outside of that, family, grandmother, grandfather, sister,
It's
aunt,
amazing.
press release, things happen. Like for instance, we were talking about Drew Rosenhaus and Tyreek down in Miami. Tyreek got into a little bit of trouble with the police department. Guess who shows up? Drew. That's Drew's job. Drew is
Yeah,
a damn good agent. That's why he's top of his class. You're supposed to be there to support your player, going to games, taking time from family to be on the sideline, making sure these guys have a valuable resource. Think about it, right? Michael Parsons. He's the hottest name right now in the NFL
yeah, yeah,
because of this blockbuster trade from Dallas to
yeah,
Green
yeah.
Bay and how it all kind of went this way. And David Mugoletta, he's a great agent too. He's with athletes first. But if you look at his story, who does he vent to? He can't trust anybody. He can just have a natural. I'm just Micah right now. I'm not the guy that's your starting linebacker making 100 million. I'm just Micah. Like, who is that person that stands in the gap for him and have that conversation and keep it
Absolutely.
confidential to where we can understand how to work for you as your agent? And that's what agents do. It's more
Yeah.
than just, the contract side, I think, is like the smallest part of it because
Well, it's
the
trust, it
contract
sounds like.
is
You
trust.
gotta have a
Absolutely.
trust. You gotta have that relationship with the players. They have to be able to trust you because you are taking
Absolutely.
care of their lives. I like what you
Yeah.
said, brother. You handle the field stuff. You
Yep.
handle the 100
I'm everything
yards.
off the field. Yep.
I'm everything off the field. And
Yep.
it always is heartbreaking to see, and I know you've seen it too, when you get some of these athletes, and to be fair, it's not just the NFL, but we'll talk about the NFL.
Mhm.
You see some of these top tier athletes that get out and they made all these millions of dollars, and they get out and they're barely scraping by. Obviously, it's decisions and poor investments and
Yeah.
wealth management or lack thereof. But it's always heartbreaking to see that.
I think I can't speak for other agents, but I can speak for myself as an agent. I think if you're an agent that has to have a vision, you see that downward spiral happening while they're in their careers. It's
Right.
not something that just happens overnight. It takes time to lose that much money, and it could be small things such as going out and paying for all your friends dinner, but you guys are going to like Nobu, right? And you're buying the best of lobster, the best of fish, and you're paying three, four, $5,000 per plate per person every other weekend. Like that's a telltale sign
Well, it's
that this is a
breadcrumbs.
norm for
Follow the
you.
breadcrumbs.
All the
It's a money.
breadcrumbs.
Yeah, follow the money.
Exactly. And what I've noticed, with agents, they may not be as tapped in as they probably should be to notice that, hey, you have a great career. You're going to be, you're one of the top guys in the NFL right now. Yeah, you're making, whatever millions of dollars you're making, but it stops at some point. And so I tell players when I meet them, what are you doing right now, active today that will have the same run rate of capital for you when you leave that pays you your P5 salary? And if
Yeah.
they tell me, oh, I never really thought about that, then you need to talk to your agent because your agent should be setting you up for success, not only on the field, but off the field, because you will leave the NFL at some point. Whether you Tom Brady or not, or Brett Favre, you do 25 years in the NFL, you leave at some point. Life will happen. Same with military folks. You're going to leave the military at some point. It's not going to be your whole entire life. It's just a portion of it.
Yeah.
But you have to, you got to know how to transition when you leave. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. You're one snap away.
One step away,
from an injury, and
or one
yeah,
jump away.
one jump away or
Yeah,
one call away if you're a first
one call away.
responder from a life-changing, God forbid something worse happens, but a life-changing injury or whatever. Okay, what's plan B?
Absolutely.
And how are
That's
you going
plan
to
B.
fund it?
Yeah. How are you going to fund it becomes a big question. Absolutely. I think some guys, I meet some players that feel as if their name alone would get them what they need. But you have to understand, NFL is not for long. That means that no one remembers their name for very long unless you're in the NFL for very long. So because you were an NFL player, it doesn't necessarily mean people are going to really be excited to work with you, especially not if I can get a guy that's current, that's hot for less money or the same. I'm going to go with the current player, which leaves you as a veteran off on your own, on your own
Yeah,
devices.
yeah.
So,
I'll give you the final word, brother. Any
yeah,
words
man.
that you want to give the listeners out there for your services, what you do for veterans, anything, brother? Go ahead.
Yeah. So if you're a veteran there, you're looking to get your claim done. Obviously, we'd love to be a part of that process for you. You do have options though. We like to educate folks that there's free resources. There's also DIY or get it done for you or someone do it for you. But we are that recourse where things get hard and you can't find an end to a means where you're into a means, and that's most of our clients. And so I just tell veterans get their claim done. Follow me on Instagram if you like. My name is Chaz, CHS, Sampson, Sampson, and however I can offer value, I'm here.
Chaz Sampson, thank you so much, brother. God bless you for your service and your work. It is the Lord's work, and thank you so
Amen.
much, brother. And it was it's such an honor. I'd love to have you on down the road, man. And
Yeah, love to be here.
I hope your time in the NFL as an agent is very fruitful, and I know you're going to be helping a lot of people, brother.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
All
that.
right. God bless.
All right, God bless you.